Hey, love. What you been listening to all week? For me, I have been banging Gucci, aka Guap, aka East Atlanta Santa. I am normally more of a lyrical type of person when it comes to my hip hop tastes, but I have been on a Gucci run since I watched his Breakfast Club interview with his wife, Keisha Kaur. He was on there recently talking about his newest book called Episodes about his life with paranoid schizophrenia and also bipolar disorder. He talked about that as well. And I really loved the interview. I love the interview because of how vulnerable and open he was being about his experiences, and just watching the evolution of Gucci is dope. Is dope. So I just wanted to talk to you about just my observations about the book since I've read it twice already, listened to it on Audible, and just got so much out of it. And I just wanted to share those things because I think it's so important for us as a community to have candid discussions about mental health. There are more and more people who are succumbing to these conditions, who are making the decision to not be here anymore, and folks who are just suffering, especially given what's going on in the world and what Gucci is doing with this conversation of mental health, and what I've seen some other folks doing as far as being honest about what they deal with and what those symptoms are is going to save a lot of people. So, on this channel, I talk about words and wellness, and usually those words deal with hip hop or my poetry. Wellness, we talk about spirituality and just holistic wellness. So, this is a wellness conversation more than a hip hop conversation. And yeah, I hope that you get down with what I'm talking about today. I'm going to look at my notes on my phone, all right? So, first thing I wrote is that Gucci and Keisha Kaur are showing the importance of conversations on mental health and marriage. I feel like social media, especially like YouTube comments and such, are kind of a case study for humanity. You see how people think and how they operate. And you see a lot of groupthink as well. Groupthink is when everybody kind of adopts the same idea because everyone else feels that way. And there's a lot of that on social media. And it's been very interesting to observe how people reacted to Gucci and Keisha Kaur on Breakfast Club. Granted, I could see some of the criticism as far as some of the language that Keisha used to describe Gucci Mane's condition. Her saying he's sick is triggering for a lot of people, who have mental health conditions or who don't. But the truth is, mental health is an illness, and I feel like it's up to the person who's being spoken about to be offended rather than the listener. But I'm going to keep, let's go to these notes. Yeah, the things I found funny. People will rather believe that Gucci is a clone than believe this Black man could turn his life around. Let me repeat that because like I said, I've been on a Gucci run. I got ADHD. So once I hyper focus on a subject, I'm in 100%. So I see on a lot of Gucci Mane's interviews, on his music videos, everybody saying, this a clone, this ain't the real Gucci. I miss the real Gucci. But when you read episodes and realize what Gucci pre-prison was living like, what it was like for him to have these episodes where he doesn't even remember what he said or did, where he is ruining personal and business relationships left and right, and just living a destructive life where it's clear this man is covered by some angels because he could have been gone many, many times. With some of the stories that he tells in that book, even just interactions that he's had with Atlanta police, is God's grace that that man is still alive. I just find it funny that people think that this man is a clone. I don't know if it's just the thing to say in comments, but I really hope that people who feel that way can understand that redemption is possible and understand that you can turn your life around. Somebody could get clean off of drugs. Somebody can decide to live a more sound life. You can too. This is a smaller population of people, but I've seen a celebrity who kind of put this out there that Keisha Kaur put a root on Gucci, and they would rather believe that she's rooted him than believe that his diagnosis is real, or believe that marriage isn't a situation that's in sickness and in health. In our community, a lot of folks don't have examples of healthy relationships or examples of how marriages function. I could tell you, as somebody who's been married 14 years now, that it really is an in sickness and in health type situation for folks saying, she's doing too much or she's turned into his mother. I get it. I get it. But at the same time, if you've ever been married and in an illness and had a spouse who supported you, I have. I went through stage 2 breast cancer. Marriage means like having somebody have your back fully. I don't think I could be in that situation. Don't get me wrong now, taking care of somebody who's having those sorts of episodes. But she knew what she was getting into before she married him. And that's what she signed up for. When you marry somebody, ideally, that's what you sign up for, is to care for them if they are ill. But I do feel like this book can apply to anybody who has a mental health diagnosis. I do not have bipolar or paranoid schizophrenia, thank God. But I live with major depressive disorder, and I also go through episodes. My episodes don't look like Gucci's. My episodes look more like disappearing off social media for 2 to 3 weeks. Hint, hint. They look like chronic fatigue. They look like me being antisocial, being so in my head that I don't want to interact with the world. Not necessarily sadness, but just feeling different and it taking some time to come out of those episodes. And I found a lot of value in the information that he's shared about how he manages his condition. Even though I don't have the same condition, if you are somebody who deals with depression, with anxiety, those are common ones, you can gain something from reading his book. One of the things that stood out to me is that you need to understand what your triggers are. So Gucci was able to identify certain things that trigger him. Being in his old neighborhood, that's one of them. He also talked about drinking lean straight, like drinking promethazine syrup is what really set off his first episode of psychosis. And yeah, for anybody with a mental health disorder or diagnosis, you got to figure out what your triggers are specifically so that you can avoid them, or so that you can be in situations where you can kind of stop yourself in the moment, or tell somebody you love so they know what to look out for. So even as I was thinking about this and typing these notes in my phone, I'm like, okay, what are my triggers? And the things that I identified are disappointment in myself and multiple physical ailments at once. For me, I have a really high pain tolerance. Like, I've gotten tattoos and barely felt it. I can take a lot of pain, but when the pain is becoming debilitating, like stopping me from doing what I want to do, that can trigger an episode for me. What triggers you? Figure it out for yourself so that you can keep yourself safer. And then Gucci talked about numbness. So if you have been a fan of hip hop or you were around back then, it was a very memorable day when Gucci Mane got that ice cream tattoo on his cheek. I remember what Twitter looked like that day, all the jokes, all the speculation of what was going on with him. And to find out through reading the book that he had done that right after being discharged from a mental health hospital. When he goes through what his thought process was and the fact that he had been getting tattoos on his face all that week because he couldn't feel his face. And even during the ice cream tattoo, he got that because he wanted to see if he could feel anything. I was like, dang, I know what that numbness feels like. Mental health, especially depression, that joint could make you like not feel parts of your body. Iyanla Van Zant on Fix My Life, there's this episode where I don't even remember what the episode was. She's had so many, but she was speaking to this wife and she told her that she's dead from the neck down, that she's a talking head, but there's no connection to her physical body. And that could happen to anybody who's had literally, they call it an out of body experience, because you disconnect from yourself. If you've disassociated from your physical self, that is numbness. And a lot of us are walking around numb because it's a self-protection technique. But once you numb, you got to know how to get up out of it. And I've experienced numbness. I have that every day. So it's important to have those techniques to get you out of that numbness. One of the quickest ways to get out of it is just physical activity. And for me, just like tapping and massaging and stretching and all that stuff, and really sitting with myself, eyes closed, and breathing, and like, okay, can I actually feel all my toes right now? Can I feel my shins? Do I feel the inside of my left thigh? Do I feel the middle of my back? Like all those things. And just rubbing your hands together like this and just placing your hands on that area of the body. Like, you see how I just relaxed? It can do that. So we got to address the numbness that we're living with. If you do have numbness in your body, And of course, this don't apply to anybody who's dealing with something neurological. Numbness cannot be controlled in certain situations. I'm speaking just generally. Then another theme that I noticed was accountability. Gucci expressed in the Breakfast Club interview and in his book that everybody who he offended through Twitter rants that he's had back in the day, he's apologized to. And one by one went through and tried to make amends with whoever would take his calls. And sometimes we are in mental spaces where other people suffer because of how we feeling. And it just expressed the importance to go back and tell people. You don't have to tell all your business, but even just like, I've been going through something that was not about you, can salvage relationships. Even relationships that you feel can be severed. A simple apology can fix a lot. He also talked about the importance of sleep, that lack of sleep is one of his big triggers. And that resonated for real. I don't think I've really connected lack of sleep to depressive episodes, but when I sat back and think about it, I'm speaking Southern all of a sudden. When I sat back and thought about it, yeah, like sleep deprivation makes me feel not like myself. It's like floating in a Spike Lee movie. Like, the sequences where the characters be floating. That's how I feel with lack of sleep. And lack of sleep disconnects you from your own body. And that numbness can lead to depression or lack of connection with reality. There have been so many studies about what sleep deprivation can do, the things that sleep deprivation can lead to. And it's important that we all get the amount of sleep that we can. I struggle with that, especially now dealing with menopause symptoms through hormone therapy. I get insomnia, but, I try to make up for it with having plans for what time I want to be in bed. I take power naps sometimes, like just set a timer for 25 minutes. I know that does not work for everybody, but it works for me because, like, there's a term for it. It's called sleep deficit. So anytime you've had, I believe it's 3 consecutive nights with less than 7 hours of sleep, you're technically in sleep deficit. I learned that on a TED Talk. I can't remember the name of the doctor. The thing about sleep deficit is that you can't make up sleep. So you can't say, okay, I missed all that sleep, so this weekend I'm going to make it up. Nah, once it's gone, it's gone. So it's important that we just replenish the energy that we're putting out. Or for me now, I'm starting to be conscious of if I know I can't get a lot of sleep, I don't put out a lot of energy because it has to balance out. I can't put out more than I actually have and be walking around in the negative. For who? For what? For why? Then the next point is that routines are so important. He talks about how regimented his life has become as far as what he does, what time he wakes up in the morning, the workouts he does, sometimes working out twice a day, like that regimented lifestyle. And really that leads to discipline. And a lot of times we look at folks who are entertainers, especially if they've had like a party mindset or drug lifestyle, that there's no discipline attached to that, but there's no way to become as successful as certain folks have become without a level of knowing how to govern yourself and your own time. Yeah, it's something that I'm consistently working on, especially in this season, being disciplined enough to create, disciplined enough to handle all the obligations and responsibilities that I have, and also disciplined enough to take care of myself, And then back to what I was saying about the clone stuff. Gucci shows that change is always possible, that we are meant to evolve. Anything that's not evolving or growing is technically dormant or dead, and dormant, basically means it went to sleep, like hibernation, like how certain animals do in the wintertime. And I have been through periods of time where it's felt like hibernation, and that's not fun. We got to evolve and we got to grow as much as we can. And sometimes you grow so much that people don't recognize you. Hint, hint. But it don't mean that it's not you. It's just a better, more improved version of you. Last thing is that marriage is beautiful. Again, I don't look at them as couple goals. I have my own relationship and my own marriage, but there is something so beautiful about finding someone who loves you through the worst moments and who has found ways to support you and help you grow and become better. Like, hats off to Gucci for staying off the drugs. He don't drink or smoke no more. That's big. Hats off to him for, changing his body completely and looking unrecognizable. for starting the process. You know, a lot of folks say black don't crack. Black don't crack when you take care of it now. I'm glad that I took the time to read the book. I was talking to a young person who I mentor, and we were just talking about books that we've read lately. I told her, you know, I've been enjoying my reading. And she's like, oh, cool. What have you read? So I told her about the Nikki Giovanni poetry book that I just read. And I was like, and I also read Gucci Mane's new book. And she started laughing. And I was like, I'm serious. And I started telling her about it. I'm telling everybody about it because I think with Gucci, it's partially the drug lifestyle. It's partially his accent too, that like people don't take Southern Black folks seriously or feel like they're unintelligent because of how they speak. It's something that we should challenge ourselves about, those assumptions that we have of others, because everybody's story has value to somebody. And yeah, this is a story that had value to me in this time. I hope that you consider reading the book because I got a lot out of it. And even if you don't, I hope you got something out of our conversation today. So I hope you are well. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're getting as much sleep as you can. Oh, one more thing too that I can't forget is Gucci shows that there is no shame in taking medication. And that is something I push out too. I believe in holistic wellness. I drink herbs. I take herbs often, but I also take my antidepressants daily. And when I'm not on antidepressants, it's different. It's different. So yeah, he talks about the importance of being on his medication, and a lot of us are afraid of medication, and not every medication is meant for everyone. But if you are in a situation where you don't have a handle on your emotions or don't have a handle on your inner thoughts or your actions, it's something to consider. And don't mean that you crazy. I mean, even if you are, take the medicine, and it helps you, at least for me, it's helped me be able to focus on the things that I want to focus on in life and to maintain a level of energy and dignity about myself and my inner thoughts that I've needed to be able to get to the point that I am now. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say, all I wanted to talk about today. But yeah, take care, be well, and until next time, I'll holla. Peace.
So looking back on that, do you feel like, yeah, I'm one of the one God sent me?
I do feel like, I'm proud of myself because like I overcame all this stuff and I still conquered like the goals I had when I first wanted to be rap. Like I want to save this amount of money. I want to be this type of person. I want to help these many people. I did it.
And surpassed.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I went surpassed when I went to prison though.
No, for sure.
So I'm like, damn, I ain't gonna even get to conquer my goals. I went in at 33, got out 36. So I'm like, damn, am I gonna have another chance? God gave me another chance. And I ain't play with it.